What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're checking out the latest addition to my Supreme knife sub-collection, which I have stored in this dope Supreme Pelican case. Also a new addition to the collection, and I'm probably just as excited about the case as I am the knife. Now, both the Pelican case and the knife we're going to be taking a look at were part of last week's drop, and if you're not familiar with Supreme drops, they happen every week on Thursdays during the spring and fall. Do want to pause here to shout out the homie Jay, because I mainly only collect the EDC gear collaboration, so I don't follow the drops all that closely. He always makes sure to reach out anytime they do a collab with a new knife company, and I probably wouldn't have most of these if it were not for his help. That being said, let's get inside of here and take a look. Do have a nice sampling of a lot of the knife collaborations they've done over the last couple of years. This certainly isn't all of them, but pretty good spread as you can see. Not going to talk about any of the other models because they all have their own separate videos at this point, but we will be talking about the latest collaboration on the WESN Microblade. The Microblade is a small 5th pocket carry or even keychain style knife that's been around for 5 or 6 years, and the Supreme collaboration offered it in a mustard yellow colorway, the Supreme red, which is what we see here, as well as a black configuration. And I almost always go with this red configuration on these, unless there's another color that catches my eye, like with the purple Palmer that we have here, because that's a color I mainly associate with Supreme since that's the color of their logo. And so a few different color options available. The yellow did sell out pretty quick. I think this one's actually still available at the time I'm uploading the video, this one and the black one, if you want to pick one up. Now, pricing on these is $110, which is $21 more than the base model, which is the same materials. And so a little bit of a premium for the collaboration. Wouldn't exactly call it a Supreme tax though, because WESN is one of those companies that offers a lot of different collaborations, especially on this model, the Microblade. And so all of those collaborations are the same price point, $110. This one, for example, is with the Balisong company called Glider. This was back in January of 2023, and I paid the same $110 for this one as I did for the Supreme collab. So not exactly adding any premium for the Supreme label, but all of their collabs do cost a little bit more money. Now, one thing while I have this knife out I want to mention is this one dropped while they were still on V2 of the Microblade, where the Supreme is V3. So there's not a lot of differences, very, very similar. One difference you'll notice is that the stop pin on the V2 went through those scales, so you can see that through the scale. That's no longer present on the V3. The other thing you may or may not be able to tell very easily on camera is the pocket clip. And so, yeah, not showing super well, but a lot more curvature to the pocket clip on the V3s. And so this is much, much easier to slide over the material of your pants if you're sliding it in and out of your pocket. This one works a lot better. Now with the Glider, I tended to carry that one in my 5th pocket, didn't use the pocket clip, so it doesn't matter all that much to me, but it is nice that this pocket clip works a little bit better, and they kind of went back to the drawing board with that to get a little bit more lift there. Now, I've never made a video on that Microblade because I lost the other one for over a year. I just found it a couple months ago while doing some cleaning, and so never made a dedicated video on that one, so I guess this is it. But this is a 5th pocket carry, so it's going to be small for sure. This is only 3.75 inches overall in this fully open position, so they're pretty tiny. 2¼ inches on that handle, which equates to about a 2-finger grip for me, and I would imagine that's going to be true for most people. There's going to be very, very few people with the smallest of hands that may be able to get a partial 3rd finger on that handle. But even though you only get 2 fingers on here, surprisingly ergonomic, surprisingly secure grip overall. Feels pretty good in the hand. And even better if you do add that lanyard. So for example, on this Glider, it came with the matching bead on this collaboration, and so this one has that lanyard, and your pinky is able to grab onto that bead and give you a much more secure grip that feels more like a 4-finger grip. Either way though, it's pretty secure. The Supreme version comes with a ball keychain attachment, so you can attach it to your keychain. I'm probably not going to use that, so I'll probably tie off my own lanyard and bead to this one to get that same feel that we got with the Glider collaboration. Now, in terms of the blade, only 1.5 inch drop point style blade, D2 steel, and even the base model at $89, that feels a little much for D2. It does have titanium handles, but for a knife this size and with D2 steel, I feel like We could have gotten a little bit more premium steel at that price point, and obviously that's a little bit more exaggerated on these collaborations. It would actually be cool to see them use different steels on the collaborations just to give it a more premium and exclusive feel to it, but same D2 steel on this one. Now the blade, despite being small, they are pretty effective. I've used that glider one for breaking down boxes. This one just came in, so I haven't used it much, but I've used it for breaking down boxes and things like that. It's perfectly effective. Definitely not going to be your primary blade still. Keep in mind the size when kind of choosing your task, but it is a decent usable knife at this size. Now weight wise, we're looking at 1.08 ounces, so pretty lightweight. One thing that's really nice on this one is that we do get those titanium handles. So previous collaborations like the Bug Out, like the Mini CEO, even the Palmer, all aluminum. The Boker one here is some sort of glow-in-the-dark resin. We do have brass on the SOG snippet, but getting titanium, so a much more premium handle material than we've seen previously, and also color matched hardware, which we haven't seen on any of the previous collaborations that I have. So we have the matching red body screw, pivot, and even thumb stud, which is nice. Now, one thing you'll notice, single-sided thumb stud. So this is really only a right-hand friendly knife. From the lock to the thumb stud, even the pocket clip, not reversible. So really didn't account for lefties on this one, unfortunately. Now we do have that lanyard hole still here, so we can add the lanyard. Billboarding, of course, is Supreme, so they're gonna put it as big as possible. The E is kind of cut off with the lanyard hole, and they tend to do that. They blow it up to fit as big as possible, whether or not they're gonna lose some of that logo to cutouts like this. And you don't really expect them at this point to shrink it down to fit without any cutoff. So wasn't surprised to see that, but still don't love the way it looks. Now we have a frame lock with a really nice lockup, probably about 50% on there, easy access to it. And it doesn't really have enough weight to even shake this blade shut. So you do kind of have to press it. You can see it's still doable one-handed, but you do have to press that. You're not going to be shaking it shut after you disengage that lock. Two different deployment methods here, with the main being that flipper tab. You can see really nice micro jimping on that flipper tab and really good action. The detent is tight and it's super snappy on the ceramic bearings that we have in here, but really snappy action with that flipper tab. We also have that sharpening tool right in front of there, and that keeps you from sliding forward on the knife, and so adds to that grip. I'm not usually a fan of that look or that they keep you from creeping up on the knife, but on such a small knife, it is kind of helpful to have that keeping your finger from sliding upwards. Now we also have the thumb stud, and the thumb stud, I really can't establish any sort of grip where I can flick it without just throwing the knife across the room, but it is still effective for kind of like a slow roll if you want to do that. You can see that detent can get a little bit tight there for the thumb stud deployment, but it is still something that you can use as an alternate deployment method. But I'm really only using that flipper tab in this case, and that just works so well that that's kind of been my go-to method on this one. Can't remember if I mentioned the weight, so I'm going to mention it one more time just in case. 1.08 ounces. Really cool collaboration. I'm kind of committed to grabbing any of these future knife collaborations that they do. May go back and get some of the older ones if I can get them without paying too much of a premium. Usually on StockX, they're going to tax even more than the markup for the Supreme logo, so have kind of avoided it at this point, but do want to get complete on my EDC collection, especially with things like the Leatherman and the Victorinox. I would really like to add those in the future. Do have some of the Zippos and stuff that aren't on the table because they didn't fit in the box. But let me know what you think about this collaboration down in the comments. At least on the time I'm uploading, the red and the black are both available, as is the red and the black Pelican case. Again, the mustard yellow of the knife sold out, was only available in those two colors for the Pelican case. Not going to link to it though because they delete those listings once it sells out. So just go onto the Supreme site, go to accessories. If they're still available, the listing will be there. If not, it's going to end up turning to a broken link in a week or two anyway. But thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the channel as a member, or checking out some of my previous videos. All help the channel out a ton, and as usual, hope you have a great one. Take care.